Hi, I'm Joey, and I'm a kangaroo. Now, you may think I'm a little off because I think I'm a kangaroo, but once you take this journey with me, you'll understand why you're a kangaroo too. I'll never forget the day. It was June 3rd, 2015, and it was hot. And my little one, it was just in time to tuck her into bed. And she asked me the question. Now, mind you, I was a little nervous at first. My hands started to sweat because I thought she was going to ask, where do babies come from? Well, luckily she didn't. She asked me if I would read her a story instead. Now, in that moment, I had a choice: read her a story or take some much needed me time for mommy. Well, I chose to read her a story instead. I crawled into her little toddler bed, squunched up, and pulled her in close. I could feel her warm, fuzzy pajamas against me, purple and pink polka dots. I could feel the softness of her skin, smell the cocoa butter. I could feel the tingling hair rubbing against my face as she nestled in. And I kissed her on her forehead and began to read a story called Joey Pouch. Now, Pouch was a regular story. It was a story about a kangaroo who was afraid to leave his mother's pouch. And when he left the mother's pouch, he would hop into the forest 2 steps and he met a creature. And he asked a very important question: who are you? And the creature replied, bird. And he screamed, pouch, and would run as fast as he can and dove back into his mother's pouch. His mother will wait a little bit, look down at him, and Joey will pop his head up and look around, and she would ask him a simple question: are you ready to come back out now? And he would say yes. This time, he jumped 5 hops into the forest, past Bird, and came across a new creature and asked the same question: who are you? And the creature replied, bee. And Joey screamed, pouch, and ran as fast as he could back past Bird and jumped back into his mother's pouch. Now, if I was his mom, I would have said either you're in the pouch or you're out the pouch. She's not going to keep jumping back and forth. She was so patient, and she looked down at him again and asked, are you ready to come out now? And he shook his head yes. And this time he took 10 hops into the forest, back past Bird, back past Bee, and came across a new creature. And he asked, who are you? And the creature replied, kangaroo. And he turned and yelled, ah, and then stopped and realized that he was looking at himself. And he said, you were afraid of me too? Then the both kangaroos' mothers came and asked if they wanted to go back in the pouch. And they both said no and hopped into the forest together. In that moment, I realized I was Joey. I was afraid of what life had to offer me. I was afraid of who I was. And I was always wondering and questioning, who am I? Tears started to form in the corners of my eyes, and one started to stream down my face as I understood that I could relate to Joey because the pouch was my comfort zone. It's easier to shrink, it's easier to be voiceless than it is to recognize the truth. It's easier to stay in the shadow to be in the light. See, for me, I had to dig in that moment. Well, where did this fear of anxiety and low self worth and low self esteem and doubt really come from? Like, what were the roots? Why did I feel unloved or not seen or valued, or my voice didn't matter? And in that moment, I had a glimpse of back to a time where the splitting happened. It was in California, and I was a young girl, about 11 years old. I had been sexually sexually molested, by my girl cousin. And it opened up the door to so many things, there's so many questions, and many things it did. It stripped me of my voice and my identity, and I didn't know who I was anymore. I remember my father had drove up and we packed everything into the little white mission Miata car and started to drive off. But what I forgot to do was to turn around and look back. Because had I done that, I would have realized the little girl I left behind, the one who was frail and had tattered clothes and was weak, the one reaching out for me and ran as fast as she could, whispering, "Wait, wait, don't leave me. Take me with you." And for 25 years of my life, we were separated. For 25 years, I moved on as if nothing ever happened, as if that part of my life never existed. However, the roots certainly did. The seeds that were genetically modified, that tainted this precious soil as a young girl, changed my thought and my identity in every aspect of my life. And as I got older, as a wife, as a mom, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, it impacted my decision making, and it impacted how I showed up, it impacted how I led. It wasn't until I was 35 and I was at a conference learning about professional speaking when I had an epiphany. One, I realized that I was a speaker and I was called to speak. And the second thing is I started the journey of healing. The best way to describe it is watching a movie and you're the actor on the screen and you're tapping your friend and saying, "Hey, look, I'm on the screen," versus being in the movie and realizing I'm speaking the lines. That's me. And the moment I realized that was me was the moment that my healing journey began. And over the few years, I started to apply this acronym I'm going to share with you called ROOT. And this really helped me transition from this woman who was voiceless, this woman who didn't stand in her power, even though everybody else around her could see it. They could sense it, they experienced it, they felt it, but yet I could not because I was numb. I was still broken. I was still tattered. I was still worn. I was still frail. I was still that little girl, even though I was now a grown woman. So first I had to recognize. I had to recognize what happened to me. I had to recognize my emotions. I had to recognize my feelings in that moment. And this has helped in life because there are times that that trauma shows back up and I have to pause and say, where is this coming from? Why am I responding this way? Is this who I truly am? And as I go through the process of answering the questions, I'm recognizing my emotions and my feelings, and I'm uncovering the truth, which then allows me to change the narrative. Number two is O. I had to own what happened. I had to own my story. I had to own my part. I had to own my healing. And by doing so, I was able to take the power back from what happened to me and the destruction that it did, and be able to now create a new narrative and use this as a launching pad to be able to help others who've been through the same thing. Then there's the other O, open. I had to be open to transformation. I had to be open and willing to do the work. Now, sometimes that's scary because you don't know what may come up. However, in the process of healing, I realized the power of a healed woman. And by doing the inner work, it produced my outer success because I was open to transformation. I was open to facing the fear. I was open to looking at this horrible situation that took place, but also recognizing the woman I became because of it. Standing in a place of gratitude because It helped shape my narrative. And again, it allowed me to be open to taking my voice back, open to owning the mistakes I make as a mother, as a leader, as a wife, owning my shortcomings and saying, you know what, I can do better. I can be better. So first I had to recognize, then I had to own it, then I had to be open. And finally, T, I had to thrive and transform, or transform and thrive. Through my transformation, through understanding that that was a temporary moment in my life, but did not define who I am and who I was called to be. And I helped reshape again that narrative and allowed me to thrive. Now I was able to launch my company as a boss mom. I was able to be a more intentional mother, in tune to my children's feelings and emotions, and being able to help them regulate their nervous system, getting them to breathe and understanding the importance of where is this thought coming from? Because our mind replays what we think, what we produce, and what we see. And one thing that I know is that if you heal the mom, you heal the home. A healed woman heals environments, and communities thrive and flourish. Why? Because now we're not reproducing what was planted. We have uprooted these tainted seeds, and now we've replanted them with seeds of wholeness, of love, of worth. And when a woman stands in power and understands her worth, nothing can stop her. Nothing can stop her impact. So, in order to transition into becoming a woman of power, a healed woman of power who did the work on the inside so that she can manifest the success on the outside, again, you have to recognize what you went through, recognize the thoughts, recognize the emotions. You have to own it. You have to be vulnerable and understand, well, what did I do? What happened exactly? What is my part? Own your healing. You have to be open to the transformation, open to getting in touch with your inner self, open to getting in touch to your higher power. For me, it's God. And through prayer and through understanding who I was created to be, the original blueprint and design, I was able to heal in a way I never could before. And then you have to transform and thrive. Once you start the transformation process, now you can flourish. Now you can thrive. Now you can bloom, prosper, and grow in every environment. I know this has truly impacted my life. And not just mine, but my children and future generations as well. Thank you. My name is Ahyoka Yeshua L, and I am a boss cultivator and the CEO and founder of Boss Mom Global, where we help ambitious boss moms of faith go after what they want without sacrificing what they love the most. And it was an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to speak with you today.